Media Talks TV. It's your boy Tony J back at it again. Hope everybody had a good Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. Um, I stayed in the house because it was snowing outside, so wasn't no way in hell I was getting out on that road. But as you know, this is a very important week, not because of the King holiday, but this week marks well, this today actually marks the 20th anniversary of TV1. And, I've been watching TV1 for so many years. It's very interesting that TV1 has lasted for this long of a time. Kind of kind of dawns on you how this channel has evolved over the years. I remember the first time it aired on Comcast, and I was no more than maybe 13 years old at the time. And the first movie they showed on TV1 was the Dr. King miniseries, the 1978 Dr. King miniseries. And they actually showed that was the broadcast launch premiere. And then after that, we had G Garvin, G Garvin cooking cooking with your boy G Garvin and Jeff Majors playing the harp, and they had all these gospel music guests, kind of like it was Jeff Majors was kind of like a play off Bobby Jones Gospel Hour on BET. So it was kind of like they were kind of shadowing BET in a lot of ways. But what made TV1 different from BET is one, they were housed in Silver Spring, Maryland when they launched, because of course Radio One is in Washington, DC, but TV1 is actually their headquarters are in Silver Spring, Maryland, next to Discovery Communications, which is another, and National Geographic, which is down in Washington, DC. And at the time, I think one of the reasonings for creating TV1 was to give Black viewers a more lifestyle programming. So that's why you had shows like um Cooking with G Garvin and B Smith, which was another black cooking show, which was in Washington, DC. She was like the black Martha Stewart. But they had all these cooking shows. They had Jeff Majors, gospel programming, and then they had this show called Divine Restoration, and then they would show all the old syndicated shows like Good Times, of course, and Sanford and Son, and they had all the syndicated shows. That was the first step, was to run syndicated programming. That was from 2005 to 2007. Then when 2009 came, well, 2008 came around, they did um Unsung. And funny thing about Unsung is Unsung has been around for almost 15 seasons. It's been around longer than Behind the Music, and it's one of their number one programs on TB1, which is Unsung. And I watched every episode. I never miss an episode of Unsung. But over the years, their content has kind of shifted. I haven't watched TB1 in a while. Only time I watch TB1 is when they had For My Man and ATL Homicide, which is one of my favorite ones. But they had all these programs, and they were kind of trying to fashion themselves as the ID network in some ways. They had some good mini series. They did very well doing original programming. Love That Girl. Couple of shows I can't name off the top of my head. Oh yeah, Who's Got Jokes, which is another one with Bill Bellamy, and that lasted a couple of years, and George Wilborn. They and also Michael Baisden. Michael Baisden had his own show, and it 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 was really good. I'd say it was really good, and they did pretty well. And it just kind of got, it was like the programming, they were trying to compete so hard with BET. And what's so interesting about TV1 is it's kind of like the resurrection of original programming coming out of Washington, D.C. Because at the time, BET was no longer in Washington, D.C., it was in New York, in Atlanta, in Los Angeles. That was their three locations. Their ad placement, their ad buying programming, that was in Chicago. So TV1 was kind of like the response to what was missing from out of DC. And the interesting thing about TV1 is they're kind of filling in a place where BET kind of left off. Because once BET left Washington D.C., it didn't feel like DC itself. Like when BET was in Washington D.C., it felt like it was really DC itself on TV. And everybody had to come to DC, come down to DC to get on BET. But one of the biggest problems with BET is they focus too much on reality TV and entertainment and not enough on information and education for their African American market. Whereas though in the beginning, TV1 was more focused on lifestyle, enrichment, and they was going in a pretty good direction 2004 to 2008. And then they just kind of skirted off trying to compete with the market. And I feel as though, BET tried to, well, not BET, TV1 really tried to fashion itself. And this is where we often lose focus. Um, I recently watched a video of Roland Martin giving an enlightened discussion, 1 hour discussion about the media market and how the media market works. And I could tell you, I was blown away by his analysis, how he breaks down how the market works, what they, stuff like the scatter market. Like I was very fascinated by his analysis. And I'm gonna do a separate video on that, because that's gonna take me time to break down that whole video. Cause he said a lot of stuff in there that I didn't even know about. Now I knew about the whole In Living Color thing and how In Living Color had a halftime show, and then they did halftime shows before there was ever such thing as an NFL halftime show. I thought that was interesting and how ad dollars kind of feed into why most black programming doesn't get greenlit on predominantly white channels or white media companies. So he really broke down the ad market very, very, very thorough analysis. I'm gonna do a separate video on it, but I wanted to, really talk about TV One, um, and really how it's changed over the years. Because like I know, um, TV One has not switched over to OTT platforms, and I'm hoping at some point, uh TV One becomes completely OTT and not connected with the cable industry, because TV One is still connected with Comcast, and Comcast still has, it's a part of their portfolio. So at some point, uh, TV One needs to really move in a direction of being completely independent of Comcast. Because one of the biggest problems, especially with the media industry and how it functions, just like what Roland Martin was talking about, um, I kind of understand why BET was sold to Viacom, because there was a need for them to get the cash in on a market. And sometimes when companies need money, well, it is what it is. Media is a tough business in of itself. And to stay afloat, sometimes if you can't compete, then if you can't beat them, join them. That's how that whole game works. And now it seems like we're in a struggle right now, in an existential crisis with BET, because black media moguls are trying to put their money together to try and buy back the network. And I don't feel as though the network is going in a direction that it should go in, because you have all these channels, you have all this original program, but Tyler Perry is really the only one that's producing content for BET. It seems like every time BET goes in a certain direction, they start to change courses. 2016, well, 2017, they gave us the New Edition Bobby Brown biopic miniseries. It was really good. It really drew people back into BET. And then something bad happened. It was like, okay, well, we did good on this media, we did good on this miniseries, and people want to invest their time into BET. So then we're going to follow up with an original programming called The Quad. And they did The Quad for 2 seasons and then they canceled it. all this shit about they can't afford it, they can't afford the overhead. Then they had this other show that they were going to have called The Breaks. And The Breaks was actually supposed to be, well, it was originally on VH1, and then they decided they wanted to move it to BET, and then BET didn't want the breaks, so then it got canceled, which was fucked up. And then, of course, here comes American Soul. Does good numbers first season, then second season come around, numbers start dropping. Then they say, "Well, we're going to put the show on hiatus," but it's actually canceled. They don't want to tell you it outright, and that's the thing about BET. They'll have you invested in a project, and then middle way through the project, they'll cancel it. And then it's like, I gave up on it, and I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, you cancel American Soul, you cancel the quad, and then all of a sudden, here they come with Tyler Perry shit. Here they come with, well, we're gonna renew the House of Pains, and then we're gonna give you uh you know sisters and all this other, stupid lowbrow shit. And college, bringing back College Hill, which I thought was really stupid. That and College Hill wasn't even really about college. It's a bunch of reality TV celebrities going on college campuses, sticking out stupid shit, and then now we got this stupid shit called the Miss Pat Show, and Miss Pat's Court is always some lowbrow ghetto shit that BET likes to put on. It's like it ain't no different. Like Miss Pat, and that's a funny thing because I grew up watching Thea. Now I don't know if y'all remember Thea, but it was an old show that used to come on BET. Thea Vidal. Um, Thea was one of those shows that came on as always some fat black woman rearing her kids. She got three kids with no man, and it Miss Pat show was kind of similar to that. Like I'm like, you're ripping off Thea, and everybody knows that. If you old enough to remember who Thea was, it was kind of similar. It's kind of similar to Miss Pat, almost. So I didn't find it really funny. Only thing they really found funny is the fact that she cussed on episodes. That's the only thing they find funny, which is crazy. I never understood that. Like, this is the best y'all can do for entertainment. Like, it's just lowbrow, dumbed down, watered down shit. But to get back to the issue of TV1, you know, the last two decades, well, the last 15 years of, excuse me, last 15 years of TV1, we start to notice, you know, Unsung is one of the most watched programs on BET, and then Unsung Hollywood and Uncensored. So those were the three shows that were the most watched shows on TV1. Now after that, like they had all these offshoots, kind of like similar to the ID network, like For My Man, ATL, Homicide, and it's like, I don't want to keep watching this shit. It's boring after a while. I sure as hell don't want to keep on seeing a bunch of who done it bullshit. It's tired after a while. But BET and, well, TB1 was on the right trajectory with their programming, and then for some odd reason they wanted to switch it up because nobody was probably watching it. Just like we had BET News, nobody watched it. It fizzled out after 2004. And BET had a lot of quality program. I mean, I don't need to tell you. You know, Teen Summit, Video LP, Mad Sports, Video Access. They take you behind the scenes of your favorite music videos before they shoot. Um, 2001 all the way up to 2008. That was kind of the Stephen Hill era. Had a lot of good quality shows, was producing original programming. And then all of a sudden, now we got all this Tyler Perry shit. Just Tyler Perry, the Bros, the House of Pain, corny ass House of Pain, where nobody is fucking watching that shit. And it's like, who's really watching this? Who wants to keep like you downgrading the quality of your own show? And then nobody's watching it. I haven't even watched the episode of Sisters, and then that other stupid show that they keep shoving down our throats, The Oval. I mean, damn, man. Like you can't get nothing with quality on there. That's one of the reasons why I canceled my cable subscription. But, I guess 20 years, I hope that TV1 takes note and actually decides to change up the programming. Start putting more, you know, producing more quality programming that's informal and informational. That's what I would say. You know, this has been a brief media talks. You know, stay tuned for the second video when I go into Roland Martin. I'm probably going to be doing that as a live on StreamYard. So I'm going to try and fix that up. If not, I'm doing a live video. But stay tuned. It's been Media Talks TV. I'm Tony J. If you're in here, you're new, please subscribe, click the like, and hit the bell for more notifications because I got more videos, more content coming out. I'll see you later. Peace.